Okay, so Cole has gotten some criticism for his finishing. I just talked about how his lack of size kind of has hurt him at the college level against bigger competition. He's actually 3 out of 13 this year at rim out of pick and roll ISO spot up. But it's interesting because I haven't heard any such criticism for Anthony Edwards, who's actually 4 out of 9 out of pick and roll ISO and spot up. And then Nico Mannion has gotten more criticism than both of them combined. He's 3 out of 6, which is somewhat worse, but I wouldn't say it's like a huge difference between those three. Statistically, I think on film, talked about with Anthony again, the lack of length, in particular height, has kind of been an issue for him as far as efficiency. He's actually gone to the rim at a decent rate. It's just actually finishing when getting there. I think he's had some poor luck also a little bit. With Mannion, I think it's his first step from a crossover, from a change of direction into kind of split stance, first step of sort of movement. Is not He's not as quick as some of the top guards, and then also as far as vertical explosion, he just lacks the physical strength and power to really explode off one unless he gets a lot of momentum, kind of a head full of steam behind him. Um, if he's kind of just attacking in a regular half court where you only get a dribble or two before you kind of have to pick up the ball and go into your movement to when you're attacking the rim to finish at the rim, he doesn't get again a lot of power and is not able to really explode. Not only as far as like the height of his leap, but just the kind of the power and strength he has within that leap. So he really gets bothered easily and can't really take contact and is kind of just uh, not able to be really coordinated and have kind of high energy finish right at the rim when he does that. Kind of difficult for me to explain. But if you watch him, you could probably catch on to that. What's it called? So yeah, that's kind of been his issue. With Edwards, I'm not exactly sure. I got to watch more Georgia, but a couple things I would say is, of course, kind of like the recognition of driving lanes and kind of his approach, also just as far as being aggressive and assertive, attacking the rim in a half court is an issue. And I think a big thing for him will be like timing his dribbles, recognizing angles, and kind of executing angles on his drives. Taking the quickest way to the basket, so to speak. But also, I do think there's his first step out of a standstill, is not maybe as good as people sometimes give him credit for. I don't think he's like a slow particularly, but he's a big dude, and again, similar to Mannion in some sense here. If he gets some momentum behind him, he's already moving. Once he catches it, he could really get downhill and use that body to, kind of go right through guys. And obviously very explosive vertically relative to Mannion, but from a standstill blowing by a guy, I don't know if he's like a top level guy there either. But again, I do have to watch more Georgia with Edwards, but that's kind of so far. If somebody asked me to explain why Edwards hasn't gotten to the rim and hasn't finished at a really high volume and efficiency so far this year, those would be kind of the reasons I give. Interestingly, the guy that has finished at the rim at a high volume and at a good efficiency is Tyrese Maxey, who's 13 out of 21 out of pick and roll ISO spot up at rim, which is very impressive. Yeah, he's definitely played far above my expectations in that particular regard. But it's funny with him; he's kind of been almost the opposite of what I expected as far as his scoring package, where he's only 1 out of 8 on pull-up jump shots in the half court so far, which is not good. Very low volume, and obviously 1 out of 8, that's like 12%. Whereas, like, for comparison, Cole Anthony, 43 attempts, 50% effective field goal percentage on pull ups, which is very impressive. And some of that came kind of early in the season in that Notre Dame game. He was very hot, but definitely a high level pull up shooter, especially for a freshman, even an older freshman. That's really impressive numbers, combination of volume and efficiency. Some sample size issues, obviously, is with everybody at this stage of the season. We'll see when he comes back from injury. Hopefully, he'll be fully healthy and everything, and you know. We'll see how he continues to shoot and if he is able to keep up those numbers. But so far, very impressive. Edwards and Mannion, both about 40 attempts so far. on pull-up jump shots, and similar to Anthony, but lower 40% around effective field goal percentage on pull-up jump shots. But still much more impressive than Maxi's 1 out of 8. Um, and for Manning, I think as far as the question of him getting to the paint and kind of putting pressure on the rim, the one way that he has done that is through runners and floaters. 10 out of 22 on runners this year, 10 made runners, 11th most in the country in the entire NCAA Division One so far this year. It's pretty impressive, and it's something that considering his other skill sets and his shooting touch and his shooting mechanics and so forth, you would expect that to translate. In the past, I've criticized guys having a lot of runners, and to some extent that applies to Mannion as well. Definitely, that the fact that you take so many runners probably indicative of your inability to get all the way to the rim. That's fair to say, also. But kind of gives him another out at the NBA level that he could go to if he can't get all the way to the rim. To actually put pressure on defense, at least with the runner. And I'm to be clear again, I'm not saying that I think Mannion is better at getting to the rim than Anthony Edwards or Cole Anthony, or that he doesn't deserve criticism for his inability to get to the rim. But I think I just heard a lot of people kind of mentioning that just 3 makes this year. Well, Cole Anthony has only 3 makes also. Anthony Edwards only has 4 makes also. Uh, so far this year in the half court, out of those situations. So I don't think there's like some huge differential. It's all small sample size right now. There's a lot of time to go. I don't know if these stats are super meaningful yet. Let's see how everything plays out. With facing different defenses, adjusting as the season progresses. Perhaps Mannion will be able to show more of an ability to get all the way to the rim. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Also interesting, just real quick, to bring up some of the returning guards like Trey Jones, Tyrese Halliburton, and Kira Lewis. Kira Lewis is actually, as far as just getting to the rim with volume and finishing 13 out of 27, um, one of the more impressive guys. And obviously, he's very young, even though he's a sophomore. He's younger than like Anthony and Maxi. Uh, and a month, I believe, younger than Nico Mannion, and like a few months older than Anthony Edwards. So pretty much the age of a freshman. And then Tyrese Halliburton is a little bit older, a couple of months older than, excuse me, Cole Anthony. But not that much older. And same thing with Trey Jones. They're in similar age group there. So yeah, Lewis has the most volume getting to the rim in half court so far this year, but he has some questions as a passer. And then Trey Jones is 7 out of 14, which is still more than like Edwards, Mannion, and Anthony, but not much more. And he has his own issues with height and stuff, but still interesting. And 41% effective field goal percentage on pull-ups, I think on like 30 something attempts. So his pull-up, I think, is a little bit underrated at this stage, and his jump shot overall, I think I'm a little bit more optimistic than some people are. Um, and then Halliburton, obviously, there's questions about the pull-up, but he's 7 out of 10. Again, a little bit lower than like Maxi and even Trey Jones, lower than Kira Lewis, but pretty comparable to Edwards Mannion and Cole Anthony. So yeah, it's worth mentioning. People talk about how Halliburton, has issues getting all the way to the rim, doesn't have the best handle, and yeah, those criticisms are fair. But so far, his statistical ability to get to the rim and finish in the half court, fairly comparable to those guys, and even efficiency-wise, 7 out of 10, fairly impressive. I think my kind of take on Halliburton, as far as from a film perspective, would be that yeah, he doesn't like to draw contact, and he doesn't have an amazing handle, but he's actually decently quick, and I think has pretty good body control once he gets in the air, and kind of has these up and unders, and has very good touch on the move and as a finisher. So that kind of shows in the efficiency. And obviously, he's a little bit taller and longer than the likes of Cole Anthony or Nico Mannion. So that kind of helps him finish over the top of defenders at times. And yeah, so yeah, I thought that was an interesting conversation and just something to keep in mind right now. And I think people that are criticizing Mannion harshly for his inability to get all the way to the rim, I do agree that it's definitely a concern to some extent. But in relation to some of the other top prospects in this class, And just in general, I don't think it's as big, quite as huge of an issue as maybe it's been made out to be to this point. But anyway, hope I didn't miss anything. I keep thinking I missed something, but yeah, if anything, I'll make another video. See you guys next time.